Hello and welcome to the channel. What a beautiful day. We're here at Wareham Forest in Dorsetshire by my favourite tree. Spent many a time here contemplating. We have Mr. Buzzboy just behind me, sound asleep. I don't know if you can hear him snoring. And I'm in the heart of nature, absolutely glorious. The view, the panoramic view I have in front of me is breathtaking. So what I would like to discuss today is a brief teaching of what this channel is about, which is human being. I'm going to give you an outline of what a human, what a soul, and what a human being is. Just a brief outline. And then I'm going to bring them together and show you how they interact. So let's start with the human. The human is a physical form. I believe it's an independent life form, not unlike any other form that we see out there. It has a thing called a life spark. And I feel everything that is alive has a life spark, and that everything interacts with one another. Even the air we breathe, even though we can't see it, we breathe it, has a life spark. Water we perceive as just something to drink has a life spark. It interacts with other living organisms. So hopefully that'll explain what a life spark is. So every human has a life spark. Every human is physical. All humans have the capacity to look at their environment and challenge what they see. The conflicts that arise in a human come from non-acceptance of another human's perspective, a belief on something. They tend to, or they do, not accept others' beliefs or teachings on a par to their own. They know they're there. And this is where the conflict comes. Rather than accepting we're all different, we all have different beliefs. This is how I feel the world has been misunderstood. Now I'm going to move briefly on to a soul. Now, for me, a soul is an autonomous creature of its own, let's say. It's just not in the physical form. It's in what we as humans call an energy form. We can't necessarily, as humans, see this form because it's not visible to our eyes or through our eyes unless an entity decides it wishes to show itself, and in that case the energy form changes so that we can visually see that. A soul is on a journey of its own, on a journey of discovery. on a journey of growth. It wants to understand everything better. And what better way to do this, if you haven't got a physical body, is to enter a physical body. So I feel a soul lives in a different realm to a human, and it wishes to experience physical life. Now I would like to go on to what a human being is. A human and then a human being seem to be the same creature, or the way that we describe it. In my opinion, a human and a human being, the words have been corrupted. So when a human becomes a human being, it's not that they are superhumanly charged into something greater than a basic human. What I feel, and what the teaching describes, is that the union between the soul and the human is understood. So when the union occurs, it's all about recognition. Recognizing that a human, an independent human, and an independent soul is working in unison with one another. This usually occurs any time throughout a human's life through a trauma or a near-death experience. We naturally have a connection. So when we're born, we are virginal to this environment, to this earth that we now call home, because we are together. When a baby first comes into this existence, it has no preconceived ideas of anything. It's pristine in its thoughts and its beliefs. It is only corrupted as it travels through the human existence, the human lifespan. If you took one child and put it over here, and another child put it over here, and you educated those children, or you enlightened those children, these human children, in a way of interaction with the world, you would see different patterns, and that's what we get within the human world, which is great, providing those interactions aren't confrontational. They can still live in harmony. Humans can still live in harmony. It's only when the teachings of these individual human races, let's say, not that I'm into races, there's only one race as far as I'm concerned, that's the human race. So depending on your teaching, depends on how you look upon another human. So this is where the conflicts come. So because we're born fresh and clean with our soul and our human, if we can wingle our way through the first 7 years of our existence, and look at the world differently, we can take our human being through from when we first enter this world to now. I'm fortunate that I had this experience. I wasn't indoctrinated into what we call this world's existence. I've always been allowed to question and find my own truth. From when I was a small child to who I am now, I have travelled and changed many, many times. But my true understanding of who I am has never changed. I've always had a belief that I am more than who I am, or who I'm being taught I am. And this is the human being connection. This is the exciting part, the crux of this teaching. When a human who is individual and a soul that is individual, they are great creatures of their own. But when they come together, the world is their oyster. The energy, the insight, the understanding that can be created is unbelievable. Humans have asked questions, and this question in particular, since time immemorial. Who, what are we? What does it all mean? Well, I feel when we understand from a human being's point of view, we get this. We get this understanding because it's acceptance. When we as a human, a physical human, understands and accepts that another form is within our body, and we interact together and we accept and we love each other, because after all, there is only love that is truly the strongest power. When we love and accept that we have a soul within a human, we become a human being. And for that, we have a reward. And the reward is the answer to what is, the question we have always been looking for. We see, as a human being, we see the potential in everything. We understand that when we look at a tree, at a bush, at a plant, at another human, we can see far more than that. When a soul is just a soul, and I'm not using that term as to put it down, it cannot experience the physical form, the wonders of sitting here, touching the grass, touching the tree, speaking to you. So it enters into, like, almost you could see a contract, into a contract with a human. So it gets the experience of the physical side, and the human gets the understanding. But the understanding has to be there from the human being. The human itself would not have that. So when a trauma occurs, an awakening begins. When a near-death experience occurs, it's an understanding that we are more than what we feel we are when we're physically here. I cannot give you physical evidence of a soul other than my teachings here on the channel. These teachings have been around for thousands and thousands of years. This is just my expression of the teachings. When we understand that the union of the soul and the human is a wondrous thing, and the enlightenment that you get from that is phenomenal. It works in unison and it creates an alignment. And I believe that's what the soul is looking for in its growth. It's looking for understanding, because while enlightenment is the journey, alignment is the goal. Once we become aligned and understand who we are, we become aligned with what is. Oh, a little spider. So the excitement, the energy, the passion, the love of when the human saying, the penny drops, when that occurs, I live in awe of my new world. When I look out of my eyes, because I am a human being, I'm not human, I'm a human being. When I look out of my eyes, I see two worlds. I see the human world, and I see what we class, what humans name, because we like to understand by naming and labeling, we call it the soul. When I look at the eyes of the soul and the eyes of a human, I see two worlds, but in one. And it's not I visually see two worlds, I understand these two worlds. And I believe that's what this is all about. It's the understanding. When we understand we are more than human, and we interact with this world, we get more knowledge from this interaction than if we just blinkeredly existed within this existence. A human being, it's just the very essence of what we're looking for. At first, these teachings are alien to us, and we will, as humans, and we will poo-poo them, possibly. It depends on how awakened we are. They will poo-poo them, but if it's meant for you, if these teachings are meant for you, they will resonate with you. And if these teachings aren't meant for you, you'll just move on in your, they won't resonate. You'll just, oh well, there's another teaching. But if these truly do resonate with you, it's worth just having that open mind and saying, okay, I have my set of beliefs, but I'm willing to look at and accept there are other teachings out there, and that we need to look at them. Because whilst any teaching has a broad spectrum of information within it. Any teaching, any spiritual teaching, any religious teaching has a broad spectrum of understanding. We as individual humans, or even human beings, don't necessarily have to believe everything within that doctrine. So that's this teaching included. What I'm looking at doing is creating an understanding of realizing, or my believing, that we are far more than what we perceive we are. We have been, humans have been guided to believe they are what they are, and these teachings create you an environment to question and understand that you aren't this other individual's story, because that's all it is. It's their perception of the world, and they want you to believe what they're giving you as a story. I want you to make your own story, to live this existence in your own way of understanding. I don't want you to be blinkered. And by the teaching of human being, you can work it step by step and grow and understand. We go deep in these understandings, and we go gentle, so that you can watch these videos time and time again. It sounds like sometimes I'm waffling on, and I possibly am. But what I'm trying to gently do is to get you to realize that while a human is a wonderful creature and thinks for itself, it's an even better creature when it's got a soul in it. Now, there are many teachings and understandings out there that say every human has a soul. Well, I have to disagree on that. In the beginning on my journey, I too believed this, that every human had a soul, until I started to question. And remember, I am on a journey myself, and I won't stop growing. I'm going to continue to grow. So some of my beliefs on my journey will have changed. I have an open mind to change. And if you too can have an open mind, you will also grow. So when these understandings of the human having, every human having a soul, I question why is it that every human has a soul? I can understand every human has a life spark. Why are we so separate, and why are we put on such a pedestal, humans, when we are no different than any other creature? In fact, humans are sometimes not as good as any other creature in their conflicts, the way they interact with this environment, the way they destroy this environment, and they don't understand that they are destroying themselves. They are part of this environment themselves. So these resources, they do not belong just to the human race. They belong to all the creatures, all the environment, everything. As I said in the beginning, everything interacts with one another. Everything needs the soil, the water, the air, the tree, the bark, everything. There's other creatures that need all this. It's not just a human resource. And a human being understands this, and it lives and exists together in harmony. Human beings have souls, but I don't believe everyone has a soul. And that does not make humans who do not have a soul subhuman. It doesn't make it at all. It just means that there aren't two entities there together, experiencing what is around. I've come across many other teachings that believe in that all humans do not have a soul. Some are kinder about the language that they use to explain this, and some aren't quite so nice. And I feel a slight superiority complex comes in their description. But then, even though they understand this themselves, they don't understand the human being concept, because although they understand that they're spiritual, they're on a spiritual journey, they're looking at it as is superior to a human. And that's not what I'm doing. A human is a wonderful creature. A soul is a wonderful creature. And we're just living in harmony. When you become a human being, you're just having an understanding. So any words that I say are not intentionally to upset anybody. I do not want to put anybody down. When you understand what a soul is, and that you go back, you go back home, as we call it in humans. We go back home, and we realize that our actions can affect another creature's interactions. So the last thing we want to do is set up, if we understand that we are here on this earth, the last thing we want to do is upset anybody else, because we will have that review when we go back home, and we will have that understanding. And as we come from love, it won't resonate with us. We won't like what we have done. Obviously, we have to experience good and not so good. And that is a perception of an individual. What one person's good is not necessarily somebody else's good. So when we go back and we have these experiences, we want to grow. So I believe this is an experience that both parties can learn from. And that is, the humans have an understanding, a better understanding of who, what, and where they've come from. And that a soul can have their understanding, that they grow and they become greater. But they only become greater through their knowledge. There is no hierarchy in spirit. There's no hierarchy. There's no rules and regulations. Rules and regulations are a human concept created to keep humans in control. Simple as that. There are no rules. There are no regulations in spirit. What there are, however, is a greater understanding or a lesser understanding. And that we can class as a soul's development. When a human saying is young souls, old souls, that's purely describing that a soul has either been here many times or it has more knowledge. And I like to look at it as though it has more knowledge, because just because we've been here many times before doesn't mean we've learnt the lessons from before. So I believe the older soul relates to the greater understanding that we have spiritually. Now, I could go on and on and on, as you probably would know, but time is running out, and I want to just briefly touch on this so that when you see this teaching, it's coming from my heart. It's coming from love. There is no malice in my teaching this belief. This belief has been around, like I've said, thousands and thousands of years. It's been understood, but it's been buried. And now it's time to bring it to the surface once more. So I could ramble on, like I said, for hours. I've got to bring it to a close. I'm sorry it's gone on for so long, but once I start getting into a teaching, I get so passionate, I get carried away. So my brief teaching for human being, I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed you being here. It's great that we're starting this channel. I think this is possibly the second video in the channel. So this is the beginning. I have loads more videos for you lined up. The short guidance we give you is all for free, because we are here just to serve Source and to create a better world for the human race. We don't want to see all this conflict. We want to see harmony. So I would like to say to you, and Busby would like to say to you right now, from this moment, that whatever your journey is, wherever it takes you, I wish you well. So until the next time, Busby, who's over there, oh, he's awake now, so Busby and I wish you all peace, love, and alignment.